beautiful homemakers. I'm continuing with Pamphlet 4 of the original 1922 Fascinating Womanhood pamphlets. The beauty a man sees. In fact, it is her appearance of delicacy, of fragility, and of weakness that makes a man think the woman beautiful. Wow, we are one sentence in and I have a comment. Delicacy, fragility, weakness. Women hate this in other women, and we've been taught to hate that. But actually, these are the women that have the pick of the men. So it is a draw, but it can also be overdone, and no man wants a drama queen or a spoiled princess, just a delicate flower to protect and provide for. Beauty, in a man's mind, is inseparably associated with such an appearance, whether it is the beauty of woman or the beauty of anything else. Take, for example, an analysis of beauty by Quackenboss. It is a discussion of beauty in the abstract, not of beauty in women, yet it shows how indispensable to true beauty are fragility and delicacy, at least from a man's viewpoint. And this is Quackenboss speaking. As vastness and strength are elements of the sublime, so smallness and delicacy belong to the beautiful. The former qualities excite our astonishment and admiration, vastness and strength. The latter, smallness and delicacy, excite our sympathy and love. Whatever we are fond of is associated in our minds with the idea of smallness. Hence, the diminutives used in every language to express tenderness and affection. So, an air of robustness and strength, however conducive to the sublime, is incompatible with the beautiful. To the latter, an appearance of delicacy is essential, which may even be carried to the borders of fragility. It is not the immense and mighty oak of the forest that we consider beautiful, but the delicate myrtle, the fragile violet, the modest forget-me-not. For the same reason, we are more pleased with the slender greyhound than the burly mastiff, and with the slight Arabian courser than the stout carriage horse. To these qualities, too, much of women's beauty is attributable. So, of course, we can think back to Jane Austen novels, and we hate those insipid women laying on the couch, unable to lift a hand, and I agree, that is not ideal. And today we always say we want to be healthy and strong and beautiful, and we definitely have a different look for women today, and men, as we've talked about, also recognize that robustness and health in a woman, and that's very important. So don't think that you can't be strong. They're talking about masculine traits. A woman with masculine traits isn't as attractive as a woman with the traditional feminine traits. That's the bottom line. Okay, now Quackenboss has finished speaking, and this next part by the authors is in capitals. Many clever women appreciate this predilection of men for smallness, delicacy, fragility, tenderness, weakness, and dependence. And although the women themselves are able, competent, and powerful personalities, they are able to disguise it, much to their own amusement. Again, if you are familiar with literature at all, you will find this in many of the stories. And of course, we can go back to When Queens Ride By. We can go back to Keeper of the Springs. We can go back to The Wife by Washington Irving. All of those stories are on my channel, and they epitomize what we're talking about here. Okay, now it is no longer in caps. The man's assumption that she can't get along without him, that she is utterly dependent upon his superior abilities, is to such women highly diverting. But they understand the man's weakness too well to make the mistake of disillusioning him. In a recent book, Winifred Kirkland gave this attitude delightful expression. This is Winifred Kirkland speaking. Not only for the moral advantages gained by men in supporting us do women preserve the fallacy of physical feebleness, but also for the spiritual exaltation man may enjoy by protecting us and rescuing us from perils. For this purpose it is quite unnecessary that the man should think the peril real, but it is absolutely necessary that he should think the woman thinks it's real. It does a man more good to save a woman from a mouse than from a tiger, as contributing more to the sense of superiority so necessary to him. The truth is that women are not really afraid of anything, but they perceive how much splendid incentive would be lost to the world if they didn't pretend to be. For example, if women were actually afraid of serpents, would the tempter have chosen that form just when he wished to be most ingratiating? But think how many heroes would be unmade if women should let men know that they are perfectly capable of killing their own snakes. Now let's unpack that. Now I'm sure you've heard the phrase about women killing their own snakes, and this is where it was popularized. I generally kill my own spiders, but if my son or husband is handy, I prefer them to do it. Once I was helping clean the church pews, and I discovered a cockroach. Did I deal with it myself? Of course not. I found a man to deal with it. If you're alone, you have to kill your own snakes and spiders. But when you aren't, you find a man to do that for you. It's so common sense. Yet many women today insist on no help from men. In every area of their life, they kill their own snakes, and so they miss out on the wonderful feeling of being cared for by a man. If you're married and are used to doing everything yourself, you can't just stop and fake cry, "Help me." He knows you're not helpless, and he'll think you're acting crazy. But if there is a job you're doing and you think he should be doing it, simply say, "Darling, I find I can no longer take the trash bins to the curb. I need your help. Can I please place this burden of mine on your strong shoulders?" There is no need to offer excuses. Just say, "I can't." He will either say yes or no. And if it's no, you'll have a choice. I suggest you still do it if you really are capable to do it. Chances are, though, that even if he says no, he will begin helping you. If you don't do this, it's not going to work. If you don't complain. Now, if he says yes, but then doesn't do it, do not remind him. In fact, don't bring it up at all. If he has missed the trash collection, he'll get it next week. No room in the bins? Not your problem. You place the bag next to the bin. You let him deal with it. It is on his page. But the moment you start complaining about it, or shaming, or sighing, or teaching, or joking about it, then it's back on your page. Don't expect any help. So let's recap. Ask for help. Then keep your mouth shut. Zip it. Write out your frustrations if need be. Pray about it. But don't talk about it. Not at all. If you have a husband who follows through, him. Remember, there is no need to offer excuses. Just say, I can't, and thank you, and tell him how you appreciate him taking that burden from you. Most women will not do this, but now that you know the secret, I think you will. The next section is called Why Young Girls Attract Men. This explains why very young girls have so much greater fascination for men than women 10 or 15 years older. The latter have so much more experience, so much more the air of being able to kill their own snakes, that men cannot feel like heroes in their presence. If these women will dispense with their air of strength and ability, of competence and fearlessness, and will acquire instead an air of frail dependence upon man to take care of them, they will often be equally as winsome as younger women are. Their air of being able to kill their own snakes is just what destroys the charm of so many school teachers and competent business and professional women. It is the absence of this air that permits many a brainless doll to capture an able and intelligent man in whom one would expect to choose a more compatible helpmeet. Manly men are most attracted where they can best play the part of man and hero. They can only play this part when the women seem to them delicate, fragile, tender, timid, and dependent upon man for care and protection. Imagine his attempting to play the hero before a woman whose ability and independence make his heroism seem ridiculously unnecessary. There was a police show I briefly watched, but I was so irritated by the plotline of the male cop being attracted to the female who constantly bettered him in everything that I was glad when the show ended. It was a female fantasy show with women followers because to men, the leading woman looked like a crazy, overbearing witch. On my blog, I'm going to link to 1 or 2 videos that illustrates the points I'm going to be talking about, if I can find them. One is of a man who is trying to give advice to women saying this is what men look for. And the woman he used as his model, he ended up marrying. And if you're an alpha woman, you need to realize that there are few men willing to take on an alpha woman. The voices of the culture tell you that this isn't true, but reality tells us differently. Recently, in one of my online groups, a young woman whose fiancé, whom she had been living with for 3 years, walked out on her. He said there was too much tension. It was not a homey atmosphere, and that she was too controlling. She admitted all this. She said she was a very successful businesswoman, and she agreed that she was controlling, micromanaged, and wanted things done her own way, and that she expected perfection. I wouldn't even want to work with her. So I told her the story of my friend who was very masculine at work, but when she came home, all that dropped off of her, and her man was in charge. There was no complaining on her end because there was nothing to complain about. She could stay on board or she could leave. It was his way or the highway. She wanted marriage with him. And lest you think that he was a domineering jerk, he wasn't. He was just a leader and told her from day one what he expected at home. Now, feminists would decry this, yet she rejoiced. All was on his shoulders. He decided what was for dinner. He decided who would cook, and often it was him. He decided if they would go out. He assigned her chores, and if something was too difficult, he hired a helper for her. He wanted a carefree home life with no arguing, and that is what they had. She was so ferocious at work, but she was all play once she got home. All the logistics were on his page. She only had to worry about herself until they had kids. Now, this young woman online said that she didn't want to be single, but she also did not want to give up control. When I explained that all successful marriages involve relinquishing control of many or most areas, she typed sigh and said she'd probably remain single. It's just sad. She wouldn't give up control. A 54-year-old, never-married woman chimed in and cried, "Why didn't someone ever explain this to me? I have been lied to. I didn't know. Is it too late for me?" The other never-married 50s all chimed in with their same lament. Career first means no children now. They regret their choices. Many joined these online groups to try to figure out why they were unmarried, why men shied away from them after just one date. And this is why, ladies. Men do not want to be controlled. They want to be in charge. That doesn't mean you get a say. Of course you do. It does mean, however, that you don't always get the final word, and that you don't always get things your way. After my brainwashing in college, a coworker told me she listened to Dr. Dobson on Focus on the Family on the radio every morning coming to work, so I began to as well. His show opened my eyes to the lies told to me at my university. He had many guests on about the lies being told to young women, and I was able to grasp the truth much earlier than many women my age. This coworker began giving me books by Emily Barnes, which happened to be the same woman my mom had taken me to hear when I was a teenager about how to run an organized home, and I had loved her. She has so many good homemaking books. Emily Barnes, Emiliebarnes. Now, there were men and women speaking the truth and trying to warn young women, just as there are today. But so much of the truth falls on deaf ears. I do see progress, though. Ladies, believe it or not, what I just read to you in this 100-year-old pamphlet is the key, the crux of what attracts men. And I am sure you missed it. You dismissed what I read because feminists have told you it was a lie. Because in the past, when you have felt fragile, timid, or tender, you haven't felt in control, and you don't like that feeling. We have been taught to always be in control and never trust anyone, especially a man, that we can do anything we set our minds to, and that we don't need a man's help, ever. So you simply dismissed the 8 important sentences on why young girls attract men. You think it's their beautiful skin, because that is what is attractive about them to you. But that is only a small part to men. That may be an initial attraction, but they won't go far just on beauty alone. Now, remember that we had just read this sentence, but think how many heroes would be unmade if women should let men know that they are perfectly capable of killing their own snakes. And then it continued on to the heading, Why Young Girls Attract Men. And I'm going to reread it because it's so important. It is the crux, the key. This explains why very young girls have so much greater fascination for men than women 10 or 15 years older. The latter have so much more experience, so much the air of being able to kill their own snakes, that men cannot feel like heroes in their presence. If these women will dispense with their air of strength and ability, of competence and fearlessness, and will acquire instead an air of frail dependence upon man to take care of them, they will often be equally as winsome as younger women are. The air of being able to kill their own snakes is just what destroys the charm of so many school teachers and competent business and professional women. It is the absence of this air that permits many a brainless doll to capture an able and intelligent man in whom one would expect to choose a more compatible helpmeet. Now here it is. Manly men are most attracted where they can best play the part of man and hero. They can only play this part when the women seem to them delicate, fragile, tender, timid, and dependent upon man for care and protection. Imagine his attempting to play the hero before a woman whose ability and independence makes his heroism seem ridiculously unnecessary. So does this sound frightening to you? Are they actually suggesting that you need to be a needy, clinging leaf? Thankfully, no. That is not what they are saying. Let me assure you that you do not need to become a brainless beauty incapable of supporting yourself. No, they aren't saying that either. Though most women, when they hear the words fascinating womanhood, have assumed that is what is meant. Isn't it right there in print, they say? No. They are telling you why young girls attract men, and women who work are often not as attractive to men. Most women today are not girlish, happy, smiling, laughing, and carefree. They are not delicate, fragile, tender, or timid. They are dressed in pantsuits and blazers and pleather or leather and animal prints. And they cuss and drink and joke coarsely, and they act like men instead of women. The majority of men don't find these women attractive at all. They will use them, but they will never cherish them. So one young woman who was a girly girl went off to college and came home dressed not only badly with her cropped hair and pierced nose, but she had a lousy attitude. She gave her parents 4 or 5 bad years until she graduated from college. And my question is, parents, why are you paying for this? Why are you paying for your kids' college? Then this girl had a very rude awakening. The man she admired told her he would never marry her. She wasn't fit to bring home to his mother. She wasn't wife material. She was intelligent, yes. She was beautiful, yes. But was she what he was looking for in a spouse? No. So she took a hard look at herself and at how her parents lived. She decided she wanted a life like theirs. She regrew her hair. She got a makeover. She bought feminine clothes. She got rid of the piercing. She was thankful she didn't get that tattoo. And she went back to church. She decided what she wanted her life to look like. And it radically changed. And within 1 year, she was married and now has children. Her focus has changed from political science to homemaking and childcare. And now she calls her life blissful. For a woman who must work before marriage, dress femininely. And if you have an online bio, let it be known that you love to cook if you do, and that you desire to have traditional roles. You must bring no debt to your marriage. Your priority in working needs to be to pay off any and all loans or other debt you have, unless it's a mortgage, because that is an asset that could be sold. And I'm going to end with this quote from Grace Livingston Hill in her book Sunrise, page 160. The husband is speaking. I thank the Lord daily that he gave me a wife like you, with your wise, gentle ways and your quiet tongue. Girlish, happy, smiling, laughing, and carefree. Delicate, fragile, tender, timid. If you can do everything yourself, why would he hold your hand when you cross the street? Why would he open your car door? Why would he help you on or off with your coat? When you go hiking, why would he help you across the stream? In the past, these were all ways that you could touch. And yet today, women slay their own snakes and then fall into bed with a man that uses them. Choose differently, ladies. If you got through this video, I know that you are taking this to heart and that you have. In the next video, we will talk about the attribute that arouses love. Bye!